Kia ora and welcome to Cobblestones Chronicles. In today's programme, we've got more stories of Cobblestones as we celebrate our 50th anniversary throughout this year. We've also got a special guest, Chris Hume, who's the chair of Cobblestones Trust Board, and I'll introduce her in a moment. And I'm really pleased that she's spared the time today to come in and talk to us about Cobblestones, of course. Chris is the chair of the Cobblestones Trust Board, and she has a background in education. She's a mother of 4, and she's now enjoying watching her grandchildren grow up. And she has got some gorgeous grandchildren. I've met some of them. She loves to travel, and she loves to learn about different cultures around the world, especially the diverse range of values and beliefs. And she loves reading, especially non-fiction books that tell the stories of lives of other people. And I know she's an avid reader. She also enjoys bike riding, and in fact, as you go around Greytown, you'll often see her whizzing around on her bike, wearing a very distinctive spotty red helmet. She says she likes visiting museums and art galleries during her travels. And I know she's come back to the board and talked to us about some of the things that she's seen in other places. She's a she's a friend of excuse me. She's a friend of Cobblestones Museum and of Aratoy. Now, before we chat, I'd just like to play you some music. So I'm going to play you a track from Dirty Linen, a CD by Rachel Doig, and it's called Washerwoman Blues. And as it's Monday, I think it's really appropriate. So here we go, Washerwoman Blues.
Keeping house and the winds, I've got those washerwoman blues. Those washerwoman blues. My old man left me here on my own with 14 kids and a great big loan. I've got those washerwoman blues. Those washerwoman blues. Well, it's been 6 months now since he left me here. Not a penny sent, nor a clue where he went. I've got those washerwoman blues. Those washerwoman blues. As far as I know, he's dead and gone. Gotta find me another man to right this wrong. 'Cause a woman on a road bears a heavy load as she trudges on through that lonesome road. She'll have those washerwoman blues. Those washerwoman blues. Those washerwoman blues.
So that was Rachel Doig with a track from her CD, Dirty Linen, which is all about the songs on this CD are all about early settlers, about the women of the early settlers in New Zealand. It's a really good CD. And very appropriate for Cobblestones, of course, because we have a fantastic wash house in Cobblestones. So I'm going to introduce Chris now and invite her to chat with us for a while. And the first thing I'm going to say to Chris is, so Chris, what is it about Cobblestones that makes you want to volunteer your time there?
Well, Janette, I think that Cobblestones is a bit of a jewel in the crown in the South Wairarapa. My husband John was involved as a volunteer a long time before I was. I was still working at the time. And when I was at home on weekends, he used to be going off to help down there and look after the grounds and do little jobs. And he really said to me, Chris, how about coming? So off I went, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was meeting new people. There were a wonderful group of people, lots of fun. We did working bees. It was just wonderful. They only lasted for an hour or two, and morning tea in the middle of it all and a chat. And really my interest was sparked from there. I then started helping at activity days and open days as a friend of Cobblestones, and always thoroughly enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed meeting the people that came in. And it was lovely to hear people's comments about Cobblestones, and people really thought it was quite a special place. So that encouraged me, I guess, to continue.
Oh, lovely. It's so much appreciated, the work that you and John do down at Cobblestones. I know you're real stalwarts of the place. It's fantastic. And I know that you even get dressed up in Victorian costume on open days and walk out and about and go and talk to people and get them to come along to Cobblestones. So I want to just ask you to tell us a bit about what's been happening at Cobblestones recently. So you got anything special you want to talk about, especially for our 50th year?
Well, Cobblestones Board of Trustees is really charged with looking after the collection, which is quite extensive in terms of there are 6 Category 2 heritage buildings there, and each one has a conservation plan, so we have to look after that. So we have to have a big picture plan of how we're going to do that. And I think when I came in first, the big push was finishing off the wonderful Donald Wall shed, and that was pretty interesting, because a lot of work had gone in by a lot of people over many, many years. And we were very thrilled to have the Governor-General, Dame Patsy, to open it, and so that was exciting. So then the next thing was to, move on. What do we look at next? And we were fortunate in having Ken Corbet come and talk to one of the groups in Probus, I think it was, and I went and listened to him, and he wrote his book From Te Papa to Berlin. He came quickly to Cobblestones and said, look at this wonderful stables. And of course it was the stables and the red shed and the cobbles that was the reason that Cobblestones was purchased by the JCs. So our focus now is really looking at how we can bring that more alive. And I think that's the big push. We're trying to bring Cobblestones alive. So we've started looking at technology and the use of technology. We've looked at augmented reality, and some people who have been lately may have seen the augmented reality that we did based on the church and what it was like to go to church a long time ago, because going to church played a big part in the lives of the early settlers, and that was nice to work with Greytown Little Theatre to do that. And then of course the next thing was to say, well, what was school like? Because school children come and visit and they love their visits. We have a wonderful retired principal who goes in and he becomes the principal of the school and works with the children and tells the story. So we've done a little augmented reality clip based on the life at the school. It's only short, which is great, and so we're growing that side of it. So it's looking to see how we can bring in the wow factor, one might say, and bringing cobblestones alive. So we're lucky at the moment to have the wonderful advice and expertise of a professional museum advisor, and I know our collections committee and the board are really enjoying working with her to really do something exciting with the stables. So fingers crossed.
That's great. That's a really good overview of what's been happening. I know the collections advisor. I know that Joseph, who was here just about a month ago, is very excited to be working with her, with a professional. That was part of a grant from the Museum Hardship Fund, wasn't it?
It was, and we feel very privileged and very fortunate to have support from the Museum Hardship Grant, because that also gave us the opportunity to start the journey of bringing cobblestones alive, and especially looking at the augmented reality, and now getting professional advice, which makes such a difference, because the thing is that at Cobblestones everybody really is a volunteer, and the only employee we have is a part-time administrator who works from Monday to Friday. And apart from that, the whole place is run on volunteer support, which in actual fact is pretty amazing, because a lot of visitors come in and they comment on how well the museum is kept, how beautiful the grounds are, and they're really, really surprised at what's through the door once they go in, as they don't see it from the road. It's like a little village. It's like a little heritage village, which is very, very special. So we're looking forward to getting something up and running that's of interest at the stables, and then what can we do next? So that comes into our next strategic planning phase, if you like, because that's what we're about to embark on.
Oh, that's great. Yes, I know. I know you in particular are very keen on getting our strategic plan right and getting it up and running. Do you want to talk a bit more about the strategic plan?
Well, the strategic plan is, of course, the big picture. It's the vision and the goals and the purpose. What is Cobblestones really all about? So we've got a strategic plan in place, and it's one of the most important roles of a board, because it guides everything really for the next. We go 3 years at a time, so this one will guide the board's thinking for the next 3 years. And as part of that process, it's really important to consult with community groups and consult with our stakeholders to see what is it that they want to see for Cobblestones for the next 3 years in particular, because the volunteers are getting a little bit older, and we're lucky to have some young ones coming through now, and we really want to encourage the young ones. We want to hear their voices. And I met with a lovely group of primary school children, took them around the museum and I got them to tell me what they thought. What did they think? Their ideas were absolutely delightful, and children today, of course, love hands-on things. So on the other side of the coin, there are other people who like to research and read and find out a bit more. Some people like to have a story told through pictures. Some people like a question to be asked. So really, we want to know what people think, and the consultation process is a vital process for the strategic planning phase, which is a very important document to guide the governance role.
It is, and it's great that as a board, as a whole, we're all going out and finding out from our stakeholders. But if anyone's listening to this programme, would they be able, for example, to put in their ideas through our Facebook page? They could send a message through our Facebook page. Would that be?
I think that sounds a great idea. I think I'd certainly encourage that to happen, to go onto the Facebook page and have a look. and we've got a wonderful new website, of course, which I also encourage people to have a look at, and contacts are there. If people just want to ring up and chat with Diana, who's at the front desk, with ideas, they're most welcome to also. No, we really encourage any feedback at this particular time. So that's great. That would be great.
Good. Okay. Oh, lovely. Thank you. So what I'll do now is I'll just play another song, because I've got a song here that I think you might enjoy, Chris.
Good.
It's by a chap called Paul Metzers, who's a New Zealander who lived overseas for a long time and came back to New Zealand. And this one is sung by Chris Priestley, who now lives up in Auckland. He's from the Deep South originally, but it's a lovely song called A Song for You.
Mm.
Here it is.
Here is a song for you. It's been a long time waiting. Now that I've set it free, who knows what road it's taking. For the future from the past, here is a song for you at last. Here is a smile for you, like the seed that's sown will not deny its birth, will push aside the stone. Though its growth is seldom fast, here is a smile for you at last. Here is a hand for you, its offer freely given, all failings understood, all frailties forgiven. The die of love is gently cast, here is a hand for you at last. Song for you. It's been a long time waking. Now that I've set it free, who knows what road it's taking. For the future from the past, here is a song for you. Future from the past, here is a song for you at
From the Future from the Past, Paul Metzler's song about A Song for You. It's just a lovely song. And talking about the future and the past, I've about to put up a photograph on, for those of you watching on TV, of when TV New Zealand Breakfast came to Cobblestones. And this is Matty with a group of children from Greytown School. And Chris, you were there on that day.
I was there. The children especially came from the school. Their teachers brought them over, and I think they loved it. They absolutely loved it because Matty talked to them about the rules for teachers in those days. And, of course, the children were amazed that they couldn't show their ankles and all sorts of very strict rules that is totally beyond anything that children even think about today. So that was very exciting. But I recall that was a day that I did dress up in a Victorian costume and talked to the reporters a little bit about Cobblestones. It was just great, and it's part of their roadshow, part of TV1's roadshow, and we felt very lucky that they had decided that they could come to Cobblestones and film it, and a lot of different local businesses and groups and interesting people. We've got lots of interesting people around. Came and were interviewed in the grounds. Was pretty special.
It was great fun. It was a really good day. And Joy Cowley came in chatted away.
She did.
She's just such a lovely person.
She's amazing.
And it was great fun. And the TV New Zealand people thought it was fantastic. They loved it too, didn't they?
They did love it. And they couldn't believe how well they were fed by our friends of Cobblestones. There's a little group of friends who are pretty jolly good, just whipping up Devonshire teas and special little nibbles and supplying to people. So they also do it as a fundraiser, which is wonderful for different events. So that's great. But no, the crew at TV1 couldn't believe the hospitality, the local hospitality, and the amazing food and how friendly everybody was, really. I think they thoroughly enjoyed it, and we loved having them there.
You did. I know Matty even commented on how good the children were. He said they were great. They were really good, really responsive, and yet well behaved. So it was really good. And that was in pre-COVID times.
It was pre-COVID times, exactly, when we were able to just grow events, and that's what we were on a journey to, growing lots of events and opening up Cobblestones more often. And that's another lovely photo of.
So for those of you watching on TV, I've just popped up a photo from the one event that we did manage to hold at the end of last year, which was Carols at Cobblestones.
That's right. And it was so special. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening. We had to wait for the okay to be able to do it, so it was touch and go there for a while. But just wonderful to see all the young families and grandparents just coming in, sitting around on the lawn, bringing in rugs and chairs, deck chairs, enjoying the music and just enjoying the special occasion before Christmas. I think everybody was ready for it. So, that's what we would like to do more of. So let's hope, we're hoping that COVID will go, who knows when, but we're certainly ready to look at more events once we're able to host them, because Cobblestones is very much reliant on events as fundraising. And on special days we do open the place up for people to come in free of charge virtually, but we just have two wonderful women who have a little bucket, a little koha bucket. So we're very, very grateful for those people who come and enjoy it and are able to just give something to us, because it all helps us look after the museum.
It sure does. And of course, with fundraising from the catering team who go out and do fantastic catering. It's absolutely delicious, isn't it?
It's yummy.
I know.
Yummy.
It's definitely well worth coming along to open days at Cobblestones, if only for the great afternoon teas. So apart from obviously not being able to hold as many events as we have in the past, how else has COVID-19 affected Cobblestones?
Well, of course, Cobblestones was very fortunate, like a lot of tourist places. I think we were the number one tourist place on TripAdvisor, just in the Wairarapa. And at that particular point in time, we had lots of overseas visitors. So we had a good mix of overseas visitors and local visitors. And the thing that we had to do, really, when the borders closed, was we had to pivot our thinking. And we had to really look at how we could maybe encourage more New Zealanders to come to Cobblestones. And that was quite a venture for us, really, and very exciting, because New Zealanders started to get out and about and explore their own country. So we have found that our visitor numbers are remaining reasonably steady. Ups and downs, but reasonably steady. So thank you, New Zealanders, for visiting Cobblestones, and we encourage you to visit Cobblestones. Everybody, we hope, will go out and encourage somebody else to, gosh, you must go and see Cobblestones Museum, because we certainly very much rely on people doing that. Our fundraising has been affected. We haven't been able to hold events, so that's had a big impact on our income as such. And that's where we've been very grateful to the museum hardship grant also.
Yeah. So I'm just popping up on the screen again, for those of you watching on TV, a photograph of an afternoon tea that was held at Cobblestones, again, of course, pre-COVID. This was the Heritage Group from Greytown held a fundraising afternoon tea there. And it's lovely to see Cobblestones being used for events like this, isn't it?
That was fun, actually. I was at that event because I'm also a friend of the Greytown Heritage Trust, and it was pretty special. And once again, we were very, very lucky with the weather. The weather has been kind to us because lots of the things are outside. As you can see there, those who are watching on TV, our grounds are very special. You can even see the grasses. It's a summer event, by the looks of things. The grass is a little bit brown. But, it was thoroughly enjoyed. And the Heritage, I think from memory, the Heritage Trust was celebrating a certain
25 years.
25 years.
25
right.
years.
Yes. So once again, we encourage people to come along to Cobblestones and use the grounds. I know the South Wairarapa Rotary Group, have always come along and held their, when the district governor comes, they've always held their meeting outside at Cobblestones, and the Friends of Cobblestones have catered for it. So that was another way of Rotary helping Cobblestones also. But no, do come and use the grounds. Of course, we have our wonderful church here too, and we hire that out for weddings. And we even had a wedding on the day of the floods. So the bride managed to, there's the church in the background, but the shearer in front, yes. But the bride managed, and groom managed to come in and out, and they loved having photos outside. That's very special. But if we need to arrange having photos inside, well, we can easily do that, and we're more than happy for people to come back and have photos. So I think that was that's something that think about. If you're getting married, think about. We can accommodate 60 guests, so give Diana a ring.
Lovely, thank you. I love watching the weddings at Cobblestones because I'm quite often along there taking photographs of doing something like that. And it's just so delightful to see the church being used as a wedding venue and everybody getting very excited to come in. And of course, we don't close off to the public, so the public can still join in the excitement of people getting married. Okay, so I'm going to just play another song here. This one is called Wild Mountain Stew. And it's a song by a friend of mine called Alan Downs, who was a sheep farmer for many years. He grew up on a sheep farm. His family farmed. And he calls himself a recovering farmer. And he writes songs now. He lives in Wellington now, and he writes songs. And this one is about the kind of things that you might find in a wild mountain stew.
Caught out again by the sun going down, your day still not complete. Dagging or drenching or shearing the strays, it's dark when you find the last sheep. Returning the ewes, cleaning the gear, your day never seems to be through. Feeding the dogs, you head on home for a drop of your favourite brew. You stoke up the fire, muddy the bass, relight the barbecue. Couple of spuds and some fresh garden greens and a bit of that wild mountain stew. Anything found wandering round the acres that belong to you. Little finesse and a handful of herbs, and if not cuisine, it's bloody good food. When you live on the land, a real countryman makes a meal of what nature runs by you. Grow what you can, cook what you catch, it makes for adventurous dining. Wild mountain stew, famous home brew, and a garden that's brimming with greens. Couple of acres of agri potatoes, anything wild, roadkill or beguiled will do for a wild mountain stew. And beef hot second cuts in your socks, well-greased jeans stand alone. You glance at the clock which appears to have stopped from wild mountain stew. Your bust's pungent, steer cat gives you those words. And back that good river being wild mountain. You live on the land, a real countryman, a meal of what never runs to you. Who can?
So I don't quite know what's going wrong with that CD, but I think we'll finish that song there because you got the gist of it. It's about all the different things that might go into a wild mountain stew, including a bit of lamb, of course, and some possum perhaps, and whatever else. So back to Chris. I was said earlier about this being our 50th year of operation at Cobblestones, and I wanted to ask you, a bit about how Cobblestone started and what you know about it.
Well, that's what I've found particularly interesting. I've learnt as the more I've become involved, I've learnt and been quite amazed at what those people who were living in Greytown 50 years ago actually did. The thing that really impressed me is that life, even 50 years ago, doesn't seem a long time ago, but it is, in Greytown was quite different. And there were a lot of small farmers, and they were very reliant on each other, helping each other. Community was very important. And when the JCs decided that they would buy the Hasswell stables and the red shed and the cobbles rather than see it disappear, that was the beginnings of it. And of course then they were lucky enough to to negotiate with Greytown Trustlands Trust to buy what they called the back paddock then. So as buildings started throughout the Wairarapa started to become a little bit derelict and people wondered what to do with them, it became a little bit popular, I suppose. Somebody said, oh, well, maybe the building should go to Cobblestones. So that's really how it started. And farmers said, I can bring my tractor along, and somebody else said, I can bring my trailer along, and somebody else said, well, I can help dig this and dig that. And the buildings, the Category 2 heritage buildings, have arrived at Cobblestones over the years. Basically, just people pulling together, the community pulling together, volunteering equipment, their time, and doing it to preserve the heritage because they felt it was important for the communities that were going to follow in future years. So we managed to have a morning tea for what they called the stalwarts, the old stalwarts, and I was at that. That was so interesting, hearing their stories. And they were just amazing people in those days, and community was very, very special. So thank you to all of those people, because their work and their hours and hours and hours that they gave to Cobblestones to help get it to where it is today has really been incredibly generous and has, frankly, just blown me away, really.
I think it's amazing the number of buildings that have been saved. I'm actually just about to, for those of you watching on TV, I'm just about to pop up a picture of the wool shed, the inside of the wool shed, which Chris talked about earlier, and she talked about it being restored and conserved so that it will keep standing for another 150 years, because it is a real part of the Wairarapa story, having a wool shed and the Donald Wool Press as well. I love watching children's faces when they come into the wool shed, and we encourage them to touch the wool, don't we?
We do.
And in fact, we even sometimes get them to make miniature sheep out of an old, the inside of a toilet roll holder, and but they're fascinated by the wool because, of course, it feels soft and you can feel the lanolin on your fingers.
But since that photo was taken, of course, we've more work was done with photographs. We have a beautiful photograph behind that pile of wool of a wool handler throwing the fleece, and it's a pretty special photograph. And we have lots of other stories that have been added to that, including a clip showing the shearing. So, a lot of work has really continued to be done to complete the wool shed as it is today. It's fascinating, and to think that they, hand clipped the wool, the shearers did with hand shears, quite different. It's machines today, and they get through many more in a day as a result.
They certainly do. I was watching, we have some sheep in our back paddock at home, and we've just had them shorn again because of this year's been really bad for fly strike. And I was watching the shearer zip through them. It took him a very short... Well, we don't have very many sheep, exactly. I mean, there's just a few. But it was amazing how quickly he did it. I've also watched the hand shearer on open days.
We're lucky to have a hand shearer available that will come down to Cobblestones and demonstrate the hand shearing. And that's something that the families love, and the children are particularly fascinated by it. So it's things like that help bring Cobblestones alive, which, as I said before, we're really working to do a lot more of that, and fingers crossed that borders open up soon and people can get back to daily lives again and come and visit and have fun at Cobblestones.
Yes, I'm just, for those of you watching on TV again, I'm just about to put up a photograph of our machinery shed, which is got lots of bits of machinery in it that have been donated to us over the years, and which we're very grateful for. It's, I know, something we're looking at. How do we make the most of this in the future?
That's right. That's fingers crossed that is going to be our next big project, because part of that is I'm talking to a lot of the older generation and getting them to tell us the stories of how those machines were used and which ones are the ones that need to be highlighted. And the plan is, that we can go ahead with, we're hoping, is to join up at the far end that you can't see. There's the coach shed where we have the Pride of the Valley and other coaches that have been given to Cobblestones over the years. And we're hoping that we can join those two sheds up and open them up and once again make them an interesting and alive. At the far end, which I don't think you can see in this photo, we've got the booth engine, which is very, very special, and especially to the mill in Carterton. So while Cobblestones is in Greytown, it encompasses a lot of material from the whole of the Wairarapa. So we like to think of it as a regional museum.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is, because there's so much of the history of the Wairarapa is bound up in so many of the things in the collection. No, it's great. I'm going to play another song now, but before I do, I'll say to Chris, thank you so much for coming in. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Cobblestones?
Well, it's always lovely to talk about Cobblestones, so thanks for having me. I would just say to people, look, if you're going to Greytown, do take time to just stop, call in, and just wander around. There's nothing to stop anybody, who's passing by, to take a cup of coffee and a picnic and a deck chair. There's even tables and chairs there, and just have a little lunch. And sometimes that's a nice thing to do with children in holidays, as school holidays come up. And grandparents, I know, look after the children. So do come in. It's a fascinating place, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my time there, just helping out. And of course, everybody makes a difference. So that's what it's all about. If you feel like volunteering, anybody out there, give Diana a ring at Cobblestones and let her know. And we've had volunteers from Masterton and from Carterton, from Featherston and from Martinborough, so don't hesitate. We'll welcome you with open arms.
And you often, if you come to the Working Bees, you get scones, which are absolutely yummy, as well as good conversation. So, Chris, again, thank you very much. Thank you for the great job you do as chair of Cobblestones Trust. And I will now play us another song. This one's called The Faces of Love. It's another Paul Metlis song, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Can I just say one more thing, Janette? As the chair of the Trust, I've got a great team on the board and wonderful support from the Friends of Cobblestones. So that's really what makes it tick along.
Lovely, thank you. So here we go. The Faces of Love seems an appropriate song to play.
Flowers and diamonds and steel, search on the distant moon. They hope to find you in glory and blood. I hope they find you soon. Through the trees the daylight is losing, our clothes are bloody and torn. I've travelled in circles while under the leaves, your footpath familiar and worn. Cower in corners and cupboards, on shelves watched you gather the dust. Sometimes they find you and shine like silver, sometimes they lose you to rust. There have been times when I thought you cruel, tear the man and woman apart, to vanish the vows, plunder the plans of the building you helped them to start. So good at mirages and clever illusions, often so easy to feel. Lads and the lasses and the lights of shop windows, look and believe you're real. I've seen you lingering, longing to stay, and watched you hanging round doors, slowly, solemnly slipping away, tears on the floor. Seldom you take off your mystical gown, but I've caught a glimpse of you then, watching and breathing of many's the child, leading the lamb from the pen. You are the knight without any armor, the white, the red and the gold, who often is wounded but never is killed, who often is silent but never is still, who may be invited but never be will, who offers a hand to hold. You are the knight without any armor, the white, the red and the gold, often is wounded but never is killed, who often is silent but never is still, who may be invited but never be willed, who offers their hand to hold.
That was Chris Priestley singing Paul Metz's song, The Faces of Love. And one of the things I'm really clear about at Cobblestones is that so many people love Cobblestones and love coming along and love helping and volunteering. And it's great. And it was lovely to have Chris here this morning talking about it. She's a fantastic chair. And she's, I know, now going around talking to a lot of different people about the next 3 years at Cobblestones. What are we going to be doing? What should our objectives be? So if you have any ideas, send them in via our Facebook page. That's a really good way of making sure that they get to all of us. So, while I was talking to Chris, while she was leaving, I was saying that I'm just going to talk a little bit this morning to finish the programme about our lovely cottage. And I'm just, for those of you watching on TV, I'm just putting up the cottage. And the cottage is one of the buildings that you can actually see from the roadside. So you can hang over the fence and have a look. It's a once upon a time it had a tiny shack on the back of it, but it has also been home to several significant and creative people over the years. It once stood on the site of the Wesleyan Church, and it was also, which is also a part of Cobblestones. And the cottage is a much loved structure, often is used as, the image of Cobblestones. And the kids who visit just adore it. They say it's absolutely great to see how people lived. And at one time, we tell the children who visit, at one time there was a couple who lived in the cottage with 10 children. And there's a bedroom downstairs at the front. There's also a baby's room, a kitchen, and 2 tiny bedrooms in the attics. So I guess it must have been a case of, like the old song, roll over, 10 in the bed, roll over, and 1 fell out. So it's lovely to be able to have it, and it's got a lot of bits and pieces inside, and maybe in the not too distant future we'll be able to do a bit more interpretation. As Chris said, we're very keen on making history come alive at Cobblestones, and that's why on our open days we all go around wearing Victorian costume, looking like Victorians, at least try to. The cottage here was believed to be built by Hugh O'Connor around 1867, using timber milled from the north of the town. Mr. O'Connor had purchased the land in 1866 for £5 from Henry Williams, who in turn had bought it from Charles Rooke and Carter, who of course was the founder of Carterton. He'd bought it in 1859 for £1.50, not a bad return. Charles Rooke and Carter was born in 1882 in Westmoreland in England, where he was active in Chartism, a movement for the working class. Emigrating in 1850, he built the original Parliament building in Wellington. Now, obviously, there's a mistake in what I just read out, because he couldn't have been born in 1882. I think it must have been 1782 he was born, because that makes more sense. He had served in the Small Farmers Association and had a strong interest in the Wairarapa, purchasing but not developing land. He leased part of Section 57 to Charles Dakin, who used the land for acclimatisation experiments, importing rabbits, deer, starlings, and other such dubious items, being the first releases there. Carter died in 1896, bequeathing 2,000 acres to Carterton, including the Gladstone Reserve and the Carter Home for the Elderly, now called Carter Court. So he was a very kindly person who was very forward-thinking, and it was very, it was good that he set aside that reserve land. So to finish up today, I'm just going to play you another little bit of a song. I'm going to play, what am I going to play? I'm going to play a song by Rachel Doig called An Honest Man, and I thought it was very appropriate with Carterton.
You've been in and out of prison most of your life. You've seen some things that no man wants to share with his wife. Well, I'm willing to forgive your sins, but try if you can. Be the type of guy I need, an honest man. An honest man would keep you right, he would make you feel at ease, and spend both day and night doing all he could to please. He would fix his gaze on only you, the object of his plan. Oh, can you be the one I need? These walls have felt like hell, 'cause they've kept me far from you. Left a mark on this aging skin, but a heart staying true. Well, I try to be there when you're free. I'm not the one who ran. If you can be the guy I need, An honest man. An honest man would keep you right. He would make you feel at ease. We'll spend both day and night doing all he could to please. He would fix his gaze on only you, the object of his plan. Oh, can you be the one I need? An honest man.
And that was An Honest Man by Rachel Doig. Thank you so much for listening. It's been lovely being here with you, and I hope you will be listening again in 2 weeks' time. But that's it for today. Bye now. Take care all.
An honest man.